Random Talk with Kim is a show where we talk about people, places, and events. We explore interrelated concepts about how things function in an increasingly hyper-connected society. We communicate beliefs and expectations about different aspects of the world.
To Random Talk with Kim. Today's guest will be Cisco Vasquez. Hi Cisco, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks for having me, Kim.
Cisco, today what are you coming in to discuss today?
I want to discuss a campaign that our group, the Creative Alliance, is starting to push. It's called Art, Love, Unity.
Interesting. What is it about?
It started off as a slogan, like it was our way of complementing what our mission statement is, and that statement was to bridge creative gaps in off and on campus, because we're Sacramento City College based, so it was our way of gathering art, dance, music, theater, and bridging those gaps to create spectacular events, themed events, open mics, live shows.
And is it a part of bringing more of the community and the students together?
Yes.
And then with it being a part of the arts, and you were saying unity as well, how much of it is going to bring the community together? Like what types of events did you guys actually do that pulls everyone in?
So we do a lot of, like I said, open mics, and we just started doing educational workshops and live mural painting and performances by different bands, local performers in general, and poetry, slam poetry is one of our biggest things right now.
Yeah. Well, do you have some of the works and poetry that you guys have recorded?
Yes, I do actually. I have several, from the last 2 years actually.
Yeah. Can you describe some of the works that we've actually have possibly being able to see?
Yeah, I know there's an artist that goes by Nikki Sounds, and she's a great performer. We met her about a year ago, starting now. She's one of our regulars. She comes off and on, and I say we have a lot of footage of her, and we also have a couple of DJs who showed up and did some poetry. People are stepping out of the rims because it's an all-inclusive club. Like we're really trying to bring out the creativity out of people, even if they didn't know they had it in the first time. So
yeah, definitely. Well, what part of the community are most inhabited with this program?
I want to say Midtown area. There's a venue called the Brazilian Center that it's actually became our official partnership in the community. They're a 501c nonprofit, so they've really just given us their space, and we now take on second Saturdays and last Saturdays at this location. So twice a month we do similar events like the open mic.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So for a second Saturday, people would come out and be able to see the events. You were saying that they do 2 events per month. Would it be like at the beginning of the month and then in the middle of the month?
Yeah, beginning and the ending of the month actually. So.
Oh, that's really good.
And sometimes in between. Sometimes we have an artist that really loves the space, and there's like, how about we do something around these lines? And like I said, we're very inclusive, so we give these artists their own space sometimes. It's also an art gallery where we hang up an artist for the whole month, every month.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, so they get an entire month to be able to display their work.
Yeah.
Do they have any like other programs that they actually offer for the artists? Do they have like maybe renting a studio?
Yes. Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
They do.
So they do rent out the studio quite often, and there's also they teach Brazilian, the language, and they teach Mandarin there, and they teach Portuguese, and they also teach capoeira, belly dancing, and they also have some cooking classes there where you can learn how to cook, the Brazilian cuisine and the stuff that comes from that traditional culture.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. How much are you involved in the program itself?
I'm actually very involved. I started there as an intern, just doing their graphic design, all their flyers, outreach, some of the social media marketing, and it just turned into a family. They realized I had a club called the Creative Alliance, and they was like, you guys need a spot, and we got our foot in 1 minute, and then now we're just a big family. We're always doing events, either for them or with them. So it's a big collaboration, like almost all the time.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So when you guys have your events, how many people on average do actually come out?
Let's see, it started with like 20 people, like at first, and now our last event we had about 78. You know?
That's really good. That's good. It's good growth. Good
Yeah.
growth. Yeah. What type of events are you guys having that are coming up?
On October 27th, which is the last Saturday, we have a themed event on enchantment, and it's around Halloween. So you know we're going with the same Halloween, the ghostly theme.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a magical night. We call it the night of enchantment,
Nice.
and we're gonna have tarot reading, like cards, you know, tarot reading, and a healing circle. We're gonna have a couple live art presentations, as well as an open mic. We're gonna have a costume contest where the winner gets $100 and
Oh, really?
or 2 free tickets to Vallejo's restaurant.
Oh,
So,
nice.
and a pumpkin carving exhibit as well. So people get to bring their pumpkin already carved, or you can show up and we're gonna have free pumpkins for people to carve on the spot. So
Oh.
lots of activities going on the
So
27th.
the family event?
Family oriented, and they're all free.
Oh,
Yeah.
now that's
Yeah.
really good. That's really good. So, what about for yourself? Now, do you do any art?
I do actually, yeah. So one of the reasons why I started the club, you know, because I'm from Texas, and you know, it was a great way to meet other friends, other creatives, because I do music. I'm a sound engineer. I'm also an MC, a poet, and I love to paint. I also tattoo, you know. So it's just like a mixture of everything. And then I do graphic design as well. So it's like it was my way of reaching the community
Yeah.
and just like finding similar people, or even if, like I said, if they didn't have a event, we're the kind of group that would bring it out of you automatically. So
Yeah, it sounds like it too. It sounds like it. It sounds like you have a lot of talent too. So you were saying that you do poetry. With your poetry, do you write your poetry? Do you do freestyle poetry?
I do a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
I would say it's mostly written, but you know, I've been put on the spot, so I've learned how to handle the freestyle as well.
So if I did put you on the spot, would you be able to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You would? You would? All right. So I'm going to give you an opportunity right now to give us a little bit of poetry.
Okay.
Okay? Whenever you're ready.
All right. 5 seconds flat. The community's got my back. You know, and everything that rose in between is like a line that I never read before, but I've seen, maybe in dreams, perhaps. But even when the audience doesn't clap, you can still hear the silence coming from the back or within, because the moon and the sun are twins and they glow within. And the planetary systems, like every artery, every vein, is either driving you to some form of insanity or something to reclaim, like your spirit, the soul, the earth. It's about rebirth, revolution, art, you love unity. And again, you can't have community without the word unity. So I splice it up like a beat so I can repeat and feed my people everything that I did not eat. It's like something that I never had, but how can you give off of something that you never hold within? You know, so, and this is where we begin, you know. The art of love unity began with me and a couple of friends.
I like that. I like that. Very nice. So I appreciate that. So, and some of the other talents that you said that you said that you also do music, but you do painting as well?
Yes, I love to paint.
Yeah? What types of stuff do you paint?
Right now I'm working on a series called Hip Hop versus the Illuminati, right? It's like it's a big theme in the world of things, but you know, it's like music. It fights corruption, especially hip hop. It's always educative, always has a message and a strong concept. So I'm painting like Tupac as a Buddhist, you know, a master, and I'm doing some Lauryn Hill pieces and some KRS-One pieces, and I'm putting them in a scene or a setting that you would see Marvel comic books, you know. So these people got lasers coming out of their heads, microphones on fire and stuff like that.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see some of that work. So you were also saying that you do the music and stuff. What types of music do you do?
It started off with just being experimental, you know. Back in Texas, I was in a band where it was just 7 guitarists, and I was the only MC for a very long time, you know. But now I'm in California, and I picked up a beat machine so I can make my own beats, because I needed something to flow to, something to create to, vibe with. So just it's like sometimes I grab oldies and splice them and add a beat to that. And
Yeah. No, I'm really into music. I like jazz. I grew up listening to jazz and blues. Now that we have our hip hop, I like seeing that they're actually starting to mix some of our rock, and some of this stuff
great.
is not really making sense to where it doesn't sound like they're really saying words that exist or words that you can spell, I guess. Stuff, it sounds weird. Yeah, I think it's just more like vocal, but not verbal type vocal. It does have a unique sound to it.
There's a lot of, audio effects included too, so it's a lot of people aren't really using their own voice, but it's another form of experimentation. So, a lot of people are really living up to it.
Yeah. Well, with your music, have you found that using any of the vocal sounds, does that help?
Actually, I know I've kind of refrained from using it, and some of the producers I do work with, they play with it all day long, and they get my consent before they put it on blast. But I've definitely had my share of those tweaks. But when I'm doing my own music without my producers or anything like that, I'm just straight up raw, like poetry and beat, like. As good as it gets.
Yeah, I would like to be able to hear some of that too. Yeah. So it sounds like you're really talented. You're well versed and with the community. How are you doing in our community without friends, without music? Maybe our transportation may be an issue for you. Do you drive?
I do not drive. I take public transportation as much as I can. I bike more than ever now. I just got a bike a couple of months ago. And I live right next to Sac City College, so I'm always walking there back and forth. So I'm always on foot. Yeah, and I think it's a good thing for an artist to always be able to walk in the sun, collect that natural sense that we're one with the earth. And, it's always good to be present to where you're at right now. So I thrive on nature itself. So,
yeah, very true, very true. Well, do you have any issues with perhaps our high rent situation that we're dealing with?
Yeah, I do have some issues with that, especially because I'm looking for a new place, and everywhere I'm looking is just like triple the amount of what I'm paying where I'm at right now. Yeah. So that's just kind of like, it's a burden I think we all carry, as citizens. And apparently the rent is continuing to rise without our consent, behind our backs. And it's just a lot of disagreement from the community, of course, but it's still happening. So that's some of the things that we would like to tackle as the club as well, some of those social injustice issues,
know. Well, we're also heading into our holidays, of course. Halloween, we're going to be passing that by really quickly soon. We're going to be getting the Thanksgiving, Christmas. Are you guys planning on doing anything special for those events?
Actually, I know Thanksgiving, we have a community resource event, and it's going to be based on grabbing community resources like the Hacker Lab and Maker Spaces and even Soul Collective, places like that where there's creative resources available for artists that artists may not know about, and even creative direction, people that do artist management type of stuff. We're going to bring them to the center for a creative resource event, and that'll be on November 24th. And I think we're going to plan a Friendsgiving potluck around that as well. So it's around
really?
the holiday theme.
Yeah, I think that'll really be good for people to come out and see that too. Be able to get involved, especially.
Yeah, it's a good way to get people involved, for sure.
Definitely. And since we were talking about the rent situations that we're having, have you noticed anything with our homeless population?
Yes. I actually have, especially with the gentrification in some of our neighborhoods. Like I come from the Franklin Boulevard district, and that's a work in progress. It seems like it's been like forever there, but literally 5 blocks, 2 blocks, any way you go, you can see there's a surplus of just like new buildings and then more homeless people. So I'm starting to see that pop up more, and I'm only 5 years young in Sacramento. But I've noticed a big difference. The shift in changes.
Definitely. Yeah, and then especially because coming from Texas, I've also been in Texas and lived there for about 13 years.
Oh, really?
And I've noticed that it's the same problem is nationwide, but it's the way that people are handling the situations to actually help the homeless. And every city seems to have this issue. Every single city. So it's something that I've been asking a couple of my guests, what would you like to see change? And are you doing anything to help that change happen?
There is a couple of things that we've been trying to implement. I mean, we did do a food drive recently at our last event, and we didn't get the word out too good because apparently it's illegal to give homeless people food. So we had to keep it under the radar. we still put it on our flyer just so people can know. It's like, hey, if you're hungry, come get your free food. We had a lot of farmers market donate produce for this one. So we know we can continue to do it, but we're trying to do it strategically, especially with consent from our own, the mayor's office. So I don't know who we got to go through yet, but there's a lot of legality issues when it comes to that. And that's definitely something that we're trying to obtain to, because it's a serious issue, and even my friends at school are going homeless every weekend, it seems like, every once in a while. I was like, I need a place to stay. It's like, but you just had a place. It's like, you'd be surprised how easy it is to become homeless.
No, I've been on that road before. It's where it's like one payment of missing something, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have 30 days to get this together. And then you're on day 10, and you're like, oh my, I don't know what to do now.
Right.
And then day 3 comes, and you get the notice of the 3-day notice to move, and you're like, how can I get help? There are some places that can help, local churches. There's some other places that are able to help, but you may have to become a member to be able to get that help. I do know that our city is trying to get there, especially with our homeless. They are working on getting the rent, mortgage, all of that situation taken care of as soon as possible. We're in our voting time. So eventually that will actually happen, and I'm hoping that people really pay attention to these ballots. It's very important to read them and understand what they actually mean. There is a double-bladed sword when it comes to some of them. Reading that fine detail and understanding what that's going to mean for you, and mean for our older people as well, and the younger people that are going to be coming up in our generations. I think that that's one of the things that I've been noticing a lot, that doesn't matter how old we are, we're all having that same conversation. And it's something that we should keep pushing and pushing to actually have. And the other part is that whenever you're out and about, is there anything that you're personally doing to help our homeless in that situation? I have a few friends that what they're doing, they get 100 bags. And they fulfill those 100 bags, and then they go out and they hand out those bags. Now, some of those bags, they may not actually have food in them, but it'll be like toothpaste, socks, toiletries, a blanket. The winter time is coming, so those items are actually very helpful for them as well, especially if they can't get the food. But there's a lot of resources that they have to be able to get food during those times. It's having a place to stay.
Yeah, especially with the season that's drifting in right now. It's a cold season, and that is definitely something we're going to do with the November event as well. We're going to collect blankets, socks, and cozy items like sweaters and slippers, whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what about with family? So do you guys do anything with your family to where you're going out and helping the community?
No, not really. It's like, me, I'm the only one that actually leaves the house sometimes, because, my wife's a stay-at-home mom, she takes care of the 4-year-old, and she gets to, she does her own thing. She's a model. She's also a creative. She makes dream catchers for a living. So
that's interesting.
So she does a lot of her own creativity. And right now we're in the process of trying to mingle them both in, see how we can really get out of that house, because we're always in and out the house, but sometimes it's never as a unit. It's like it's either her or me, take turns,
that's understandable.
A lot of compromising.
That's kind of the way it is in the world, is that we do a lot of compromising, a lot of negotiating with each other to try to get things done. But teamwork is like the most important thing for us. The other one that I've seen, throughout our community, is that whenever we're trying to communicate with people, have you found it difficult to have a communication with someone from a different culture?
There's usually that language barrier, and I know people think I speak Spanish sometimes, so it's a little hard. I do understand it, I just can't speak back fluently. So a lot of people think I speak Spanish, but I'm Native American, and a lot of my Native Americans do speak Spanish, but I'm just one of them that happens to don't really know how to do it quite well. But I think there's a lot of language barriers, and I think a lot of things we do end up meeting on is that we come from the same environments, we're all products of poverty, right? Just like what we were talking about, gentrification, homelessness, that's kind of the nature of poverty, and that's the real dilemma right there that we're all dealing with, and that's a worldwide issue, not just our nation, but it's pretty predominant in American culture. It's an economic thing, and it's a little hard to understand, but it's very prevalent. It's staring at us in our face, and every weekend could be a different change in events where you might become homeless, or you might be too short to even eat one weekend, you know. And there's a lot of learning and living involved, and in growth and development. If that's one thing that we try to encourage, like as creativity, it builds intuition, it builds a trust into each other, and it also builds those relationships within the community to really prosper, even with the dilemma called poverty, right? We could really pull through that sort of corruption through the power of arts. And I saw that as a child, which is why I've been so adamant about learning new things when it comes to painting or drawing or even tattooing or making beats, right? It's just like there's the little things that it's easy to overlook, but when you really focus on that, the energy and what you can do with them, that's where the community comes in, and that's where you can really implement change within our own society.
Yeah, very true, very true. I've noticed that in some cases when we are trying to communicate with people, we may have to do dialect changing to where I have a few friends that they do speak in a broken up English.
Yeah.
And then I will actually reply to them in that same kind of broken English so that way we can actually communicate together and our comfort levels actually change to where it's like, finally, I finally found someone that will at least communicate with me. Yeah. Some people, they kind of do that pause and they're not really sure whether they can actually understand what they're saying, and they get frustrated and then they just kind of walk away. And then that's not really the right way to do it. Just think about how they're saying our words and just change your words to sound similar to theirs, and it makes it a little bit easier to actually have that transition in communication. And it really does bring the community a whole lot more together.
Yeah, it does. Sacramento is really known for that diversity, so it's a good way to embrace it. Like, even if you don't understand a person's dialect or their tongue, you could still learn a lot just by being present and acknowledging it, and asking questions too. Like, a lot of people don't know how to ask questions. That's true. It's like you got to start somewhere, Yeah. And that's the opportunity right there. I think every obstacle that you run into in the community is an opportunity to learn something new, for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I have a couple people who think that I can speak multiple languages, and it's probably because I have that look of maybe being French, Spanish, but I'm black and white, so I have that kind of mixed genre anyways. But when you put me in an environment that may be just Spanish, the people really will think that I'm going to speak Spanish. And the funny thing is my husband is the one who's more fluent.
Oh, he speaks Spanish.
He's African American, so when he speaks, they're like, whoa, and you're very fluent. But he's able to do the tense. So male and female tense for Spanish. Yeah, and he's able to actually get that down really well, to where a lot of people are impressed that he's taken the time to actually learn it and process it. With myself, I've taken on sign language to try to learn and master sign language. I'm still working at it. I think I could do the alphabet, and that may be in my name, and that's about it. Yeah, and that's awesome, and I think I still need to still work on it. But going out to the events where they actually meet up will help. So, and I think they have a few of those things online as well. So I wanted to go through a process with them and to be able to communicate with them. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't take some of the classes or have someone that may be able to take the time to actually teach me how to do it. Is with sign language, it's completely different. There is no changing your dialect. It really is body language. That's what's going to be able to help you with that communication. So I wanted to thank you for coming in today, and
You're
I really
welcome.
do appreciate it. So if you want, do you want to come in again and possibly show off your art?
I would love to, actually. Lots of art.
Definitely. So I will say thank you again, and that will
very
be all
much
for today. I hope you guys enjoyed another show of Random Talk with Kim. If you would like, go ahead and come back again and see us on channel 17 and 18 from Access Sacramento.